Today, we're getting stuffed with Italian sausage. Why? Because we're doing sausage 3 different ways. So come along and join us, and you can enjoy every single bite. Hi, I'm not a chef. I'm not even really a cook. I'm just someone who likes good food, the kind that doesn't take a million steps and doesn't break the bank, and it won't make you cry in the kitchen, unless it's from the onions. The only degrees that matter to me are Fahrenheit and Celsius. I found ways to make the kind of meals I want to eat and without all the stress. And now I just want to share that with you. So if you're hungry, curious, and just tired of overcomplicated recipes, you're in the right place. Welcome to The Casual Culinary. Welcome back, casual cooks. Today we're getting stuffed with Italian sausage. Today we're going to be making sausage 3 different ways. 1 pack of sausages, but 3 different recipes. Woo! We'll be full by the end of this. So I'm going to dive right into it. You're going to need quite a lot, and so I have some stuff already ready to go, but this is just normal Italian sausage. Typically, you can buy this in any grocery store. We have Italian sausage from, I don't know, Smart and Final, where I'm at, but it's cased. It's got something in the case, not ground sausage. And like I said, we're doing something a little different too. We're going to be putting it in the air fryer today. So far, you've seen me grill on the gas grill, or you've seen me use the pellet grill or smoker. But today, it's all about the air fryer. So we have our 4 different Italian sausages. They've been sitting out for about 25, 30 minutes. Again, you want the meat to come to room temperature. If you're taking something right out of the fridge and putting it in the air fryer, it's going to get potentially burned on the outside and not get cooked enough in the middle for what you want. The first thing that we're doing is we're going to do cooking the sausage, but we're also going to need a couple bell peppers, and I'm going to use white onion. I guess you could use red onion for this if you wanted to. I prefer white onion. So we're going to have to do a little prep today. I'm going to get started just by cutting up some bell peppers. It doesn't matter if you use a red bell pepper, a yellow bell pepper, a green bell pepper. This is just what I chose. Sometimes they're a little bit more expensive than the green. I know there's different ways to cut bell peppers, and people tend to get a little weirded out on what's the right way. I don't know what the right way is. This is just the way I do it. So I kind of think of it as like a little 4 sides to a house, and I cut those things down the side. And then here's the core with a bunch of the seeds and the stems, and I'm going to throw those things away in a moment. Sometimes you'll see little ribs on the inside, and you could use a small knife, or I'm just using the same chef knife that I have right now to cut out that ribbed part. It doesn't really add anything to the flavor, but you could eat it. It's not going to do anything to you. And then we have just our parts of the bell pepper. And what you could cut them horizontally or vertically. I like them better as vertical for this. And I'll show you why when we get done with the dish for this one. So I'm just going to slice them. There's fancy terms like julienne. You can julienne different vegetables, but that's not what we're doing here. We're just making kind of rough cuts, but we do want to try to get the veggies about the same size so that it cooks the same. If you have a big chunk or a big, huge amount and then another short piece, then definitely the short piece could get burned before the other one would end up roasted, because being that we're putting it in the fryer, it's basically going to get roasted. And here's our other one. Again, kind of a weird looking bell pepper. It's more round than square, but we just cut it the same way. There's one side of the house. I'll take this side off. Second side. Third side. And so you can see what's left. Fourth side. Okay, and again, you've got those ribs and stems and seeds all on the inside. Did a pretty good job on that one. You can just cut this out if you want. As always, be careful with your knife skills. If you're not somebody who uses a knife pretty often, definitely want to be a little careful. It's best to work with sharpened knives, but you also run the most risk of injuring yourself. So you just got to take things slow. I'm just going to be cutting it down the side into these little slices. Okay, mix them with my red bell pepper. All right, and finish cutting this one up. And so like this part of the bell pepper is clearly a different size than this one. So this one will get cooked much faster. So this one is getting cooked. That one, I'm just eating plain because I like it plain. So we got that ready to go. Put that aside. We have our sausages, leaving that out there. And then I'm also going to do an onion. You could use a Maui onion, a yellow onion, brown onion, white onion. And we don't need to use the whole thing, but I'm gonna use most of it. And today I'm gonna show you for the recipes we're doing, you could use kind of the roasted or grilled onions, or you could use raw onions. So I'm gonna show you both in that regard. So I'm gonna go ahead and slice off one end of the onion, see if I can get through this without crying. So I've made a flat part, which makes it a lot easier to cut. The onion's more stable, okay? Helps give you a safer environment. And then I'm going to take the other part of the side and just cut through it halfway, right down the middle. And so now we have two halves, both with a flat side. I take that outer layer out. This is normally when I start crying. So I'm just actually, I don't worry about just the skin. I just take off the whole top layer. It's easier, and then I don't waste my time trying to get all the little flaky stuff off, and then I spend half the time crying. All right. So again, we're going to do grilled onions, but I'm also going to show you how you can do raw onions for one of the three dishes. So I'm just going to do kind of a rough chop. Again, I want to keep the onions typically the same size as the bell peppers because it's all going to cook together in the air fryer, and I don't want some getting done over others. So there you go. There's one. So I've got those ready to go, and those are going to go in the air fryer with the peppers. And then while I have the other half ready to go, I'm just going to kind of dice some up because I'm going to use these for another possible option of another recipe. But you can use raw onions on one of the recipes that I'll tell you about today. So that way you can be ready regardless of what you like. Or maybe you don't like onions. You don't even have to include them. Again, we're pretty casual here. We just want people to be happy and eat some good food full of flavor. So I'll just cut up a little bit more, and then this, I'm just going to kind of rough dice. Okay, I don't need a lot. Whenever you're cutting, you always want to use your fingers. You want to kind of curl them in so that you're using them as like a guard for the knife. That way, if you're trying to do this, that's when you get into some deep trouble. All right, so we'll just do a fine dice and keep those separate. And now we're actually going to get ready for the cook. So we're going to cook the 4 sausages the exact same way, which is using the air fryer. But from those sausages, we're going to make several different recipes, at least 3 different recipes. Everybody's air fryer is a little different, so I'm not sure 100% what it is that yours will cook at or how it's going to be lifted or not lifted. But this was the one that I'm using. And so I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to toss these in the air fryer. Oops, I dropped one or 2. Luckily, I'm in my house. Do not pick up and put food back from the floor when you have guests over, but I'm the only one eating it, so I can do whatever I want. So I'm putting in the peppers. I'm putting in the onion, and then you can follow me on over here to the air fryer, and I'm going to grab some avocado oil is what I typically use. So I'm going to spray those veggies down with a little bit of avocado oil. And then you could put salt, pepper, or other seasonings on that you want it. I'm actually going to put on, you guys, if you've watched the channel, you know I'm a fan of Kinder's. So I'm going to put in Kinder's, the blend, which is just salt, pepper, and I think it's garlic, granulated garlic. Still not sponsored by them, but give me a call, Kinder's. Okay, so we'll just get a little of it going on in there. And then you're going to mix that up. You can mix that up with tongs, mix it up with your hand. You're just getting a little oil on there. But that is also going to provide a little space for me to be able to put the sausages. So I've got that ready to go. Okay, I've got the sausages in there. Now you could preheat this, but to me, it doesn't really matter. I've had it both ways, where I've preheated it or where I've just put it in there and put it on. But we're going to be putting it on for about 375 for probably about anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. I'll let you know what mine ends up being, but sometimes it cooks at different levels. And we're going to mix the veggies, and we're going to flip the sausages about halfway through. So I'm going to put that in. Let's see, we're going to turn it on. We're going to put it down to, I'll put it at, I'm going to leave it at 15 minutes. And I'm going to put the temperature down to, I'm going to go for 375 on mine. Preheat, I'm not going to worry about the preheat, so I turn that off. and I am going to do turn it halfway through. And then I'm going to hit start, and away we go. It's been about halfway through. It's been about 7.5 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and check how things are going. So I'm going to open it up. Okay. So you can see they're getting a little brown. Probably still need a little more, but we're going to mix up some of those veggies underneath. Okay. And still use them as kind of a bottom layer. And then we're going to go ahead and turn those sausages just so you can see how the ones are that are getting done on the top versus the ones that aren't done yet on the bottom. So we're going to flip those around and put it on. We may need a few more minutes after this. I again put it on for 15 minutes so far, but it's been 7.5. I rotated it, and then there's still about another 7:15 left. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get going on the marinara, which we're going to need for the first recipe. So over here, I'm going to pull out, I just have some store-bought marinara. I love Rouse. That's a brand that I can get at Costco. Costco is like the favorite place that I go to get most of my stuff. But we need to get that up to temp. You know, you could easily put this on the stove for a few minutes too, but again, I'm keeping it casual. I'm just going to go ahead and take some of this and put it in the microwave and heat it up until it gets to be the temperature that I'm looking for. So I'm going to take out just a little bit. Yep, I'm going to end up using 2 Italian sausages for this first recipe. And so I'm going to put just enough to basically cover the 2 Italian sausages and the peppers that I use for this. You know, that's about the amount that I'm using right there, but probably about maybe half a cup, maybe a little bit more. I'll put that away. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in the microwave for probably, I don't know, maybe a minute. The sausages are almost done. I'm going to take out the marinara sauce, nice and steamy, super hot. Woo, yeah. And leave that there. And then our sausages have 2 seconds left. And there they are. So let's go take a look at those and see how they're looking. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so a little more color on the top side, but you can see the veggies are nice and roasted, the peppers and the onions. Okay, I want to make sure it's done. So I'm going to bring it over here and put that on the cutting board. And normally for doneness, you just want it around about 155 to 165 degrees. And so let me turn this thing around so I can get a look. I'm sticking it in, and so this was in there, and actually it's already up to 187. And that's okay. We're going to cut them up and use them in other things, so we're fine on that. But typically 155 to 165 is what you're going for. So that was 15 minutes in the air fryer, really quick. Let's get this going. I'm going to put out my sausages. Told you there'd be a lot of sausage today. I am going to make 3 separate recipes using these sausages. So the first one that I'm making is the Italian Stallion Sausage Edition. Okay, in a bowl, I'm just going to put the sausage or the bell peppers. Now I could put the onions in here as well. If you like onions, fine, but I want to save the onions for the second recipe. So I'm just kind of hunting for just the sausages, or just the bell peppers, excuse me, on this one. If I get an onion or 2, it's not the end of the world. In fact, normally when I make it, I probably would include the onions, but I'm going to save the onions. So the Italian Stallion is basically going to be almost a pasta recipe, but I'm not including the pasta. It's going to be sausage and peppers with marinara sauce and a little bit of cheese. You know, last summer I was doing the keto low carb thing, and I just didn't include the pasta. I just did the sausage and peppers and found out that I liked it so much that I really didn't need it. So sometimes I can go for the pasta. If you were going to do a pasta, I would probably do a penne pasta, something that has short noodles. I don't know that it would work that well with the longer spaghetti noodles, but that's your opinion, your preference, whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and set the onions over here. Even though they're done, they're not going to cook, not turning it back on. I'm going to cut 2 of the peppers, and I'm going to cut them on a bias. I don't know if you've ever heard the word bias. You can just cut them straight down like you would a hot dog going into mac and cheese, but I do it on a little bit of a diagonal. It's a little fancier presentation. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the knife and cutting right diagonally, not straight, but diagonally. So here's one cut. Okay. And by the way, these have been outside of the air fryer for probably about 2 minutes by now. As always, I encourage you to let the meat rest. You can see the juices that are coming out, but the longer you give it the rest, the longer you give the meat time for the juices to redistribute. Okay, so there's one Italian sausage. We're going to throw in the second one. So here's our second one. Presentation side is better to show. Again, I'm cutting on a diagonal, which we call cutting on a bias. Okay. Again, be careful with your knife skills, depending on how adept you are, but I'm just using the tongs, putting them in there. And then comes our marinara sauce. So I'm just going to scoop in some of that marinara over the top. And for me, it's not done until it has some cheese. And the cheese that I use for this, you could use Parmesan, you could use Romano, but I go to the store, and in California, we have a restaurant called the Old Spaghetti Factory, and they have a special type of cheese. It's not their brand that I have, but it's called Mizithra cheese. So it's a Romano blend. I just got this at Pavilions, but it's kind of a hard cheese. So it won't melt right away, but it's really nutty and really salty. And so I'm just grabbing a big handful of that, and I'm just going to put that right over the top. All right. So right there, we have the Italian Stallion Sausage Edition. So that will be our first dish, saving the bite for a little bit. So I'll leave that one there, and let me get you on the other two that we're going to be doing. The second one is just buns and sausage. That's it. So we're going to take one of the whole Italian sausages that we have and basically put it in a bun, traditional style. So I picked up some simple, you could use hot dog buns. I picked up some special artisanal buns for sausages that are for brats, but you could use them for Italian sausages. A little more fancy, a little softer. You could also toast the buns. You could put it back in the air fryer for a little bit, or you could heat them up whichever way you wanted to. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and slice it myself, but I'm not going to be heating it up at the moment. And then now is when we're going to use the either grilled or roasted onions, or you could do raw, depending on what's your favorite, and then whatever type of condiments that you like. So I'm a mayonnaise and mustard guy. You could use barbecue sauce, but simply I'm just going to put a little mayonnaise in there. I know there's some people who do not like mayonnaise. I do. Don't know what to tell you. If you don't like it, don't put it on there. And then just a little bit of mustard. Again, some people have Dijon mustard or actual ground seed mustard. Whatever floats your boat is good enough. And you could do the raw onions on this. In fact, I'll put a few on there, but I'm more of a grilled or roasted onion guy, so I'll put a little on there. I like some raw onions too. And then I'm going to come over here, and you can see what we have left. So this has cooled down a little. I'm just going to put some of those roasted onions. They're nice and soft. They're going to be sweeter. So if you're somebody who likes a more mild onion flavor, this is a good recipe to use, where it kind of takes out some of that bite of the onion, because they get sweeter the more they cook as the natural sugars come out. And then we're going to take the sausage. We're going to put it right on there. And then I really like cheese, make it a little bit more fancy. So I went and just got some provolone. You could do provolone, you could do mozzarella, but I'm just going to put a little bit right over the top. And then I'm going to throw this right into the microwave for just a few seconds and let that cheese melt over that. Probably about 30 seconds should do it. 30 seconds is up. Cheese is just melted enough the way I like it. You might want it a little more gooey, but it's going to be enough to just keep that bun right on there, so it's not going to go anywhere. And right here is the second one, buns and sausage. And we'll just put that one right there. And that brings us to our third recipe, which is Honey, I'm Hot Italian sausage. And that's an appetizer. It's not a main. So it's actually an Italian sausage. And we're going to grab a little hot honey. Honey, I'm hot, Italian sausage. And I decided I was going to add a little something extra to this one. And that's going to be a little Boursin cheese, which just adds a little bit of creamy flavor to this. Again, this is an appetizer. It's not meant to be a main. So we're going to start off with our sausage. And actually, let me move these so the camera can see what we're doing. But again, I'm going to cut the sausage again on a diagonal or on a bias. This is for presentation. You probably want to cut them in about 1/2 inch slices. Okay. And then let me get another plate for this. I'm going to start this on the cutting board because I can make better use of the room. These 2 parts that were just the end, probably leave those. That's going to be just for us to eat a little later. And again, I'm using this Boursin cheese. And if you've never used it, it's kind of a creamy cheese, but it's supposed to be refrigerated. I've taken mine out of the refrigerator because you want it where it's a little more able to be manipulated. And so it comes in this little aluminum foil kind of cupcake cup, if you'll bear the analogy, but it's kind of like a soft cheese, kind of like if you were to let cream cheese sit out and melt. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little spoonful on each of the sausages. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this cheese and just put a dab on each of the sausage slices. Again, it's going to add that creaminess flavor. Boursin has different types of flavoring. This is garlic and herb, which is still sticking with our Italian theme. Not that you're going to be eating or serving all of these together like I am today, but at least you know the flavoring that is going to be going on in your mouth before you try it. Let me finish these up. And here's the last one. You could do this with or without toothpicks, but it's going to be served appetizer style, and it's going to have honey on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on the plate for presentation. Okay, keep in mind, we started with 4 Italian sausages, and we're getting 3 different meals out of this. Again, you can choose to put on the toothpicks if you want. Now we're going to take our hot honey, and there's different versions of this, again, depending on your grocery store where you go. But this has kind of become a real popular thing to put on a lot of different dishes. I've seen it on wings. I've seen it on pizza. But for me, I'm putting it on this. So we're just going to drizzle some of this hot honey right over each one. See if there it is. Just a little bit. And finish it up. Look at that. Ready to go. We started off with 4 sausages, all cooked the same way in the air fryer, but we got 3 very different recipes out of them. So we got the Italian Stallion, which remember, we had the Italian sausage. We cooked it over some bell peppers in the air fryer. We took it out. We sliced up the sausages. We put in some marinara. It was jarred marinara that we used, just heated it in the microwave with a little Mazithra cheese, but you could use whatever cheese you want. The second one was buns and sausages, and that one, we just used an entire sausage. We put it on the bun with whatever condiments you would like. I used mayonnaise, mustard. I took some of the grilled onions that were done in the air fryer and put those on it, and I melted some mozzarella cheese over the top, or maybe it was provolone, but you can melt whatever cheese you want. And then the last one is an appetizer. Again, we took that last Italian sausage. We also cut that on the bias. And then we went ahead and added some Boursin cheese, garlic and herb cheese for a nice creamy flavoring, and then just drizzled it with a little bit of hot honey. And that one we called Honey, I'm Hot, Italian Sausage Edition. All right, so now let's see how they all taste. First one I'm going to start with is going to be the Italian Stallion. Look at all the sausage in there. We've got the Mazitra cheese and the bell peppers. Yeah. Honestly, this tastes like it could be an all-day Sunday cooking pasta. It just doesn't have the pasta, but it's got the sauce, it's got the sausages, and it's got the bell peppers. If you want to add pasta, finish the meal that way. But very good. Let's secondly go to the honey I'm hot. And again, you could use a toothpick or your hands. I'm just sitting here with my fork, so I'm going to take one of those. Okay. Really nice. The benefit of this is it's got a lot of stuff going on for such an easy and small dish. It's got the sweet because of the honey. It's got the hot because of the honey hot. It also depends on what type of sausage you buy. You can get sweet or spicy, but I went with the regular mild and it tastes great on that. And it's one big, huge bite with a lot of different flavors for something so small and easy to make. The last thing we're going to go for is the buns and sausage. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down the middle and open it up so you can see what we're looking at. Okay, look at that. We got the sausage. We've got in my case, the roasted or grilled onions that I put in the air fryer with some of the raw onions. I put mayonnaise and mustard on mine with a little bit of melted cheese for that bite. And let's try to get everything in there. A little messy, but that's all right. That is so good. It reminds me of like a summer cookout, having everybody over, having a party. But all of what we did today was super casual. Really simple. Give this a try and let us know what you think of it. I really appreciate your support and hope that you've been enjoying the content we're providing. So please like and subscribe to the channel. We also have other stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and we'll be adding some YouTube shorts in the future. Take care. Until next time, keep it casual.